All right, guys, it's Eric, and I'm glad you guys made it here. We're at Module 1, and we're gonna do the Commit to Making a Change for Cash Flow Builders and the Academy Masterclass. All right, so Module 1, Commit to Making a Change, the foundation of building cash flow through real estate investing. So here's a couple things we're gonna go through. We're gonna eliminate negativity. Real estate investing is hard, time-consuming, and risky. Some people think that's true. How traditional retirement planning sets you up for failure and how this method can get you to your financial freedom number faster than you've ever thought. So how to own the multi-family millionaire mindset, successful ways of thinking, and commit to following our fast action sheet. So overview of the Cash Flow Academy. Where will you be after you complete this program? You'll be able to calculate your freedom number. You'll have a plan to get your freedom number, and you'll understand how to buy multifamily to get to your financial goals.
What are some things that you need to change in your life? Do you need to change your mindset? Do you have fear? Do you have good habits, bad habits? And then finally, what is your goal? In order to invest in multifamily, you're gonna have to have the right mindset. Your old fears and beliefs, people have a lot of rocks that they like to throw at multifamily. You don't wanna be the guy that's getting the plumbing calls. You're always gonna have tenants calling you all day, all night. Never gonna have any peace. Those are a lot of common fears and misconceptions. And let me tell you, those are easy problems to fix. So let's start off with, what is your goal? For me, the first goal I had was I wanted to get to $8,333 a month in passive income from my apartments. This is when I worked. I still had a full-time job, and I had, at that point, I believe I had 24 units. So with our quick math, we say you make between $200 and $300 a unit. So with 24 units, I was making somewhere around $4,800 a month. So I wasn't even quite halfway to my goal. So my first goal was $8,333 a month. And why was that my goal? Well, that's the monthly income that you have to earn in order to get to $100,000 a year. And for some reason, for me, I thought $100,000 a year was my number. I read a book by Grant Cardone called 10X, and very quickly learned that I couldn't have such small goals. So what is your goal? Are you trying to replace your current income? Replace a job? Are you working 2 jobs and you want to get one job out of the way so you only have one full-time job? Are you a family and maybe bringing a newborn or a young child into the family and want to have one of the 2 people to be able to stay at home and need to replace an income? Are you retiring? Maybe you found out that your retirement wasn't enough and you want to figure out how to supplement that income. Other things that we would do, we'd try to build a legacy. One thing that was super important for me before I found multifamily, I kept trying to build businesses, and I kept going into partners with people, trying to establish some kind of a legacy. And I thought, if I can partner with them and I can make their business successful, then I'm gonna have something that I can pass on. So creating a legacy is important to some people. So now we talk about reverse engineering our freedom. So to reverse engineer your freedom, the first thing you need to do is to calculate your monthly cost of living. So what does that mean to you? Is that gonna be your mortgage? Is that gonna be vehicle, transportation expense, insurance, housing, food, entertainment? These are all things that we talk about when we put together our personal budget, right? So finding out what your monthly cost of living is how we say reverse engineer your freedom. So let's say you come up with a number of $100,000 a year. And you know that $100,000 a year means that you need to make $8,333 a month. We just talked about that. Some people will take that number and divide that by how many years they think they're gonna live past their retirement, and then say, if I need $100,000 a year and I plan on retiring when I'm 70, then I'll have 10 years of income before I die. And that would be your $100,000 a year, $1 million. So that's how some financial planners and advisors will try to get you to that number. They'll say, how long are you going to work? How much do you want to spend every year after you retire? And how long do you want to live? How morbid is that, right? Just listen to an audio book by Grant Cardone, the Millionaire Booklet. And he talks about that very thing. And he says, why would you want to work for someone else for so long and end up with nothing? Another great book is called The Millionaire Fast Lane. And in The Millionaire Fast Lane, they go specifically into things, and they talk about the people that tell you to cut out that one coffee a day. And if you cut out that one coffee a day, you're going to have $700 at the end of the year. And if you cut out that one coffee a day for 30 years, then you're going to have $21,000. Whoopee, great. We're trying to do this different. We're trying to do it the right way. So what's your freedom number? Once you figure out your freedom number, then you figure out how many units it takes to replace that number. Something that we talk about once in a while is just over broke. That's what your job is. You're just over broke, right? Because every penny you make, you spend. The average American has less than $400 in savings, saving for emergency catastrophe, which puts us all at the brink of bankruptcy, in missing 1 week of pay without credit. So one of the numbers that we talked about, how to figure out how many units it's going to take to replace that number. A rule of thumb, depending on who does your management for you, $200 to $300 a month per unit. So if you buy a fourplex, you make $300 a unit, you're looking at $1,200 a month. Can you live off of that? Some people could, some people couldn't. Another option there is if you bought a fourplex and you moved into one of the units. Now your monthly income would reduce, but so would your cost of living, because you don't have to have housing in there. So you could take that housing out of your budget and live off of the rest of the money that's left over. So after step 2, when you figure out that you have $200 a month per unit, now you need to figure out what. Remember, my number was $83.33 a month. So at $83.33 a month, if I had 4 units, I was making, well, actually I already said I had 24 units. So my freedom number was $83.33 a month. I had 24 units at $200 a month. So $4,800 was my current income. So how many more units at $200 a month do I need? And what's the disparity there? $83.33 minus $4,800. Do that quick math right there. That's about $35.33. But he was counting. So at $35.33, if I make $200 per unit, how many more units do I need? Well, what's half of 35? About 17 and a half, right? So let's say I was at 24 units, making $4,800 a month. I need to add 18 units to that. And if I got to 18 units and my total unit count was then 42, and I was making $200 a month, then I'm right there at that $8,400 number. So how many units do you need? How many doors do you need, we call them? So for us, in our generic, easy to understand math, you need 42 units to make $8,400 a month. And you can make more than $200 a door, depending on your purchase price, depending on your interest rate, and depending on your management. So how many units would you need to hit your goal? Discipline. Schedule time to participate in the course and to fill out and complete the action items. Most successful people actually put an appointment in their calendar that says from X to Y, from what PM to what AM am I going to take to work on the course? Am I going to dedicate to study? In the course later on, we're going to be looking for deals. How many hours a day am I going to dedicate to looking for deals? Discipline is huge. It's a commitment to making this change. And part of making this change of mindset for some people might be to become disciplined, to follow that structure, to say no matter what happens, I'm going to look at 100 deals this week. Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. That's a great quote. Another critical component to changing your mindset has to do with debt. We talk to a lot of gurus. Another critical component has to do with your mindset on debt. Every expert has their own opinion. If you follow Dave Ramsey, he'll tell you that all debt is bad. I chose to study Robert Kiyosaki. His book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, talked about good debt and bad debt. And I know Dave Ramsey doesn't believe in it, but for us, it's pretty simple to understand. Good debt is anything that puts money into your pocket. Bad debt is anything that takes money out of your pocket. Now that's a very simple explanation. Rich Dad actually uses that explanation also to classify an asset versus a liability. So you could also think of an asset as being something that puts money into your pocket, and a liability as something that takes money out of your pocket. And then if you look at good debt versus bad debt, asset versus liability, you would understand that if you're purchasing an asset that puts money into your pocket and you use debt for that, that would be considered good debt. If you're purchasing a liability and that's something that takes money out of your pocket, then that would be bad debt. So that's a pretty easy concept to understand. I've oversimplified it, of course, but good debt versus bad debt, we have some stories coming up that talks about that. You're only one property away. You're only one property away from changing your mindset. You're only one property away from financial freedom. Well, you tell us, fill in the blanks. What are you one property away from?
So as you know, I don't know if I've told you guys my story, but I've been fixing flipping houses in the Phoenix market, actually all over the country since 2003. So my wife and I have turned and fixed and flipped over 1,000 houses, easy. And so what we found was we'd wake up every morning on Monday and we would look over our KPIs, our key performance indicators, and we wanted to know how much marketing we had out, how many contracts we had, and how many houses we were going to sell for the week or for the month, right? And so part of our marketing was we were marketing a multifamily, and we were buying apartments and smaller units and larger units. And so this particular story pretty much changed everything for us financially because of what took place after we purchased this property. So we call this one how Eric killed the $1 million 10-unit golden goose, okay? And this slide's actually, it gets a lot more expensive. But anyway, I'm just gonna tell you what happened. So we did some direct mail marketing through one of our mailing pieces, and we found a seller who owned a 10-unit and he owned a 26-unit. We're talking about the 10-unit right now. And this seller was in California. He purchased some apartments so he could earn some money while his daughter was in high school. So when she graduated from high school, he would have enough income to actually take her, to afford for her to go to a really expensive college in New York, actually. And so what we did is we bought the property, we took over his payments, we bought both properties actually, took over his payments, and we didn't do anything to the property. We literally bought it, gave him a little bit of money, took over his payments, gave him a little bit of income, and then we sat on the property for about 2 years, okay? And so what we did was we hired a property manager. The property manager kind of, charged us all these extra fees, and we made some mistakes. So what happened 2 years later, we flipped the property. We purchased it, as you can see here, for $350,000 and sold it for $520,000 as a flip, and made $170,000 profit on this deal, right? Which was really good. But what happened? I fast forward a few years later. What we should have done is what Tom and I have been talking about is rather than buy it, let it sit, and not do anything, we should have bought it, slowly transitioned the bad tenants out, fully renovated the property, And within a few years, the property would have been worth over $1.2 million. We could have cashed out our existing investment, took out all our profit, made a little bit of money tax-free, and still own this property and literally doubled rent. We would have been doubling our rent. So we would have this asset still cash flowing. We would have still been able to make money. So as you can see here, we purchased property for $350,000. We sold it for $520,000. Then the new buyer, what they did is they fully renovated it, turned the property over, went from $450 a door to $950 a door, up to actually $1,500 because there was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house on the property. And he literally doubled his cash flow, which in turn, when you look at a cap rate, was able to refinance the property and pull a bunch of money out tax-free. So basically what I did is, here's where I made the change. Is I was like, if I wake up every day and I have to fix and flip another house, I have to look at my marketing and everything. Think about if I would have just taken this property, renovated it, then refinanced it, I would have had more money in my pocket than my profit. I could have reinvested that money and still made the same amount or more cash flow every day. So that was the mindset change I made, is like, why, if I could have just, think about it. If we would have, we've bought and sold over 1,000 houses, right? What if we would have just kept 15, 20% of those properties? How much cash flow would we have coming in, right? So we made that change. We started buying cash flow properties. We started buying long-term, consistent income every month. And that's literally changed our life.
So make a decision. You've invested your money in our course. Now it's time to invest your time, implement the process, and get the results. Now I'm going to explain to you a few actions that you're going to need to take. The first thing I did, I had a partner. I lost a partnership or a business, went south, and at the time I was working 2 jobs and I had a business, and so when we lost that business, we lost a contract, and that took a lot of my income away. So I'm wandering around the bookstore back when they had bookstores, trying to figure out, what am I going to do now, because I just lost 1/3 of my income, and I stumbled upon Rich Dad Poor Dad. So an action for you is, get the book, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and read it and marinate on it, understand it. Don't just flip through these actions and not pay attention to what's going on. Rich Dad Poor Dad's written at an easy read level, and he tells a story. He tells wonderful stories in there, and they're all about changing mindset. So grab that book and listen to it. Or I can throw out a plug for Audible. I'm always on Audible. Audible's great when you're working out. It's great when you're commuting. It's great when you're going to sleep. Audible, that book, or read it. Another action that I want to explain is when we talked about your goals and setting your goals, we want you to make a timeline for your goals. One thing that I put in that goal, one sense of urgency when I talked about my goal of $83.33 a month, I wanted that by the time I was 40. So a goal is necessary, but a goal without a deadline never comes to fruition. So the deadline or the time frame is just as important as the goal. Make sure that that's a critical component of your goal. Make sure it's included in there. I will have $100,000 a year in passive income from multifamily investing by the age of 40. That was for me. We're going to also talk about a vision board. Ryan's going to speak to that a little bit. I'm going to introduce him. He's going to come out. He's our other cash flow partner. But Ryan also had a goal. And his goal was to get out of the corporate life, get away from corporate America. So Ryan, come on up and tell us your story. Ryan is, in my life, the person that introduced me to a vision board. I'd never heard of it before, but Ryan, you're a very visual and spiritual soul. So can you tell me a little bit about First of all, what is a vision board? Just keep it short, but some people might not know.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's anything you want to have come, into your life. So for me, I just kind of I literally put my business card on there with an X through it because I didn't want to work for that business anymore. Another thing I put on the vision board was my receipt here. That was from a dinner in December of 2016, saying when I wanted to quit my job and how many units I wanted to have. And believe it or not, I ended up quitting my job just before June of 2017. So sometimes you just write things down and they kind of go your way.
So this vision board, is it on your wall? Is it some big
It's in
2x4?
my room.
Or?
It's in my room. I show my kids. Both my kids have a vision board as well.
Nice.
And I update it on occasion as well.
So does everyone understand the connection to mindset here? He actually took some things and made them physical. And I've heard of, now since you taught me about vision boards, I've heard of people putting pictures of the Ferrari 488 Pista, whatever they want, on this vision board. And they're looking at it when they're brushing their teeth in the morning or whatever they're doing. So we're talking about taking action, and what Ryan did, he took action, and why he did it, let's talk about his mindset a little bit. Did you have a great mindset coming into this?
Not at all. Horrible mindset.
One question. Did you believe in debt?
I believe that all debt was horrible. That's how I was brought up. So yeah, that was tough.
So that's a real thing. We're taking Ryan's mindset. He was brought up that all debt was bad, and we're converting that mindset. And that's what this module is about. So we talk about debt. Tell the rooster story, because I get a kick out of it from beginning to end.
Well, I just didn't believe, and I hate saying this while you're standing here, but I just didn't believe what you were telling me, that it could be that easy and that profitable. And I also had a belief that it had to be pretty. And so the first building that you showed me, I think it was 13, 14 units?
It was 11.
11 units. And
we added 2 units.
So we went to drive, I went to drive by the job and pulled up, and about 10 roosters and chickens ran out of the front area, and I just told them to pull away. I don't want it. I'm out.
So we went through, Ryan had a single family residence. We talked about this already. He made the commitment to sell that, pull the equity out, and then he went into a 1031 exchange. And he had to identify a property to buy so that he wouldn't have to pay taxes on the gain. So I showed him a property that was for sale, and it was 11 units. And another thing I learned from Rich Dad, and this is in the book, if you read it, you'll hear this. There's property that you make money on, and there's property that you show off to your friends. And most of the time, those aren't the same property. They're 2 totally different properties. So Ryan identified this property on his 1031, and he had an offer in on this property to buy these units. We drove up, he saw the place, chickens, roosters crowing, chickens running out in the road, and he said, forget it, I'm out. So
pull the offer.
Pull the offer. Okay. So then what happened?
What'd you do to me?
Well, what did I do to you? I said, this is your deal. Let's go look at it. It's great. It's a great deal. It's going to make money. What did you do? Fear, his old mindset took over, and he pulled out. And then what happened?
I called you a week later and asked how that property, whatever happened to it, and you told me you purchased it.
I just went ahead and bought it. And I love it. And it's a great property. I paid $360,000 for it. It was 11 units. We were able to convert 2 spaces into make them 13 units, and it's worth about $850,000 now. And it cash flows strong every month. If you use our silly math, 13 units, that's $2,600 a month profit. We're paying down the principal every month. The property's appreciated from $360,000 to about $850,000. And I believe I closed on it, I want to say January of 2016. So thanks, Ryan. That was a great deal that you let me have.
Yeah,
I really appreciate
it. Terrible.
So mindset, right? Talking about taking action. So thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
The groups of people that you spend your time with are going to have a huge influence on your growth. Last night we had a meeting with a gentleman who just stopped by to say hi, someone that I'd been helping with the maintenance issue. And just so happens that he sold a property that he owns for $18 million. And his $18 million sale created an opportunity for him. He is entering into a 1031 exchange. So he has 45 days to identify a replacement property and 180 days to close. Now, we don't know the exact numbers, but if he bought that place for $10 million and sold for $18 million, he's got $8 million worth of tax to pay or tax consequence. By him using a 1031 exchange, he has the ability to defer that tax or to send that tax on down the road. So this mindset is having conversations with people, talking about things that might make you a little bit uncomfortable at first, but this is also where deal momentum kicks in. You're talking about deals, you run across people that are doing deals. Imagine if you're in this group and you want to buy this $18 million property, or you have a property for sale. Imagine the possibilities or the opportunities for you. Another topic for mindset, there's going to be a lot of words that get thrown at you, things that are going to challenge you. We talk about your expanding your vocabulary. Do you have a multifamily vocabulary? Do you have a financial vocabulary? There's going to be a lot of words and terms such as the BRRRR method. Who knows what the BRRRR method is? We're going to explain that later. Let's talk about the value add process map. Finding a deal, acquisition financing, raising private money, implement value add, stabilize, refinance, and hold. All those terms are probably new to you. They should be. And congratulations, you're about to find out what they all mean. Let's talk about the old way of thinking. What is the scam alert that you see on your screen? Millions of people worldwide have fallen for the 40-40-40 scam. The scam is where you make someone else rich by working 40 plus hours a week for 40 years and then try to retire on 40% of what you couldn't afford to live off in the first place. Talking about changing mindset. Get out of the rat race. Get away from that way of thinking. Let's talk about single family versus commercial. Some of you might already be investing. Are you investing in single family or are you investing in multifamily? The upsides to multifamily are a single family has a single tenant, a single person to cover your debt service. When you have a vacancy in a single family, it can easily wipe out a whole year's worth of profits just by sitting vacant for 1 month. In multifamily, when you have multiple tenants, you can have 50 to 75% of your tenants cover your expenses, leaving you with 25 to 50% of profit. So if half of your people move out of that multifamily building, you can still break even. So which one's more safe? Which one's risky? Scalability. Multifamily is extremely scalable. What is scalability to you? We're going to talk about that. That's our last module. But being scalable means how fast can you grow and how well can you manage? That's all important. Bigger deals have higher returns. More equity, your equity builds faster. Also, your tax savings, tax liabilities are going to change. Passive and residual income, again, that's cash flow. Tax advantages, depreciation, tax-free refi process. Something I read in Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it took a long time for me to see that. But anytime you borrow money, you don't pay tax on it. So we had a situation where we were able to refinance a property. We were able to take $1 million in equity out of it. And a lot of people said, well, why would you do that? You have to pay taxes on it. Well, you don't pay taxes on it. It's a loan. So you're taking that equity. You've had your tenants pay down your mortgage, and your property has been staying worth the same value or appreciating. And when you get that disparity there between the two numbers, you can take a loan out against it, get that number more, the debt more aligned to the actual value of the property, And then that money that you took out, you can go out, scale, buy another property, and do the same thing. So again, benefits of multifamily versus single family. It's about changing your mindset. We're looking at people who are doing fix and flips. Those people are just chasing that sale. And once they sell, they've captured all the profit and they don't have an asset. And are they going to take that money and chase another asset up the ladder until they're getting to the place where somebody's going to end up holding the bag, and that property is going to not be worth what they paid for it even pre-rehab. So multifamily can be easier to manage. Would you rather have 4 single-family homes at 4 addresses, or would you rather have 4 units at 1 property? Some of the savings there can be in maintenance. You only have to send 1 crew for landscaping once a week instead of sending 1 crew to 4 locations. Another situation is the water. Typically, multifamily provides the water, so you're going to have 1 water bill and you're going to have 4 tenants dividing that bill through their rent versus having 4 single families with 4 water bills. Another function of multifamily investment is the way a property is appraised. When you appraise multifamily, you look at 3 things. You look at the income approach, the actual cash value, and you look at comps or comparable sales. So the income approach is something that's unique to multifamily. They don't use the income approach to value residential. So when you have a multifamily property that you can come in, do some improvements, increase rents, then when you increase rents, you also increase your value. Formula for success. Let's look at traditional retirement planning versus investing in multifamily for retirement. $100,000 invested 10 years ago in the stock market versus $100,000 invested in multifamily. So if you have a 10-year average of a 7.44 return on your 401k, starting in 2010, ending in 2020, it would generate a $205,000 return. If you took that same $100,000 10 years ago and invested it in multifamily, we would see approximately 56 income-producing doors. We would see $198,000 in revenue, plus we would see $1.59 million in equity. Now, this calculation is completely dependent on your level of participation. But if you could see that and understand that we're here to change your mind about how you should be investing for your future, then we're going to show you a case study how this will work out. This is just an example that we pulled from the internet, and it lets you put in a dollar amount and a time frame, and that's your 7.44 return, and that's where we show the $100,000 gain. So we don't discourage you from participating in your 401k. There are a lot of benefits to that. Obviously, tax savings, obviously employer matching employee contribution. So even within our group, there's a little struggle back and forth of which way is better. We're just trying to change your mind or open your mind to a different type of investing. Module 1 recap: the foundation of building cash flow through real estate investing. Following the cash flow builder formula and learning how to have recurring income month after month. The ins and outs of how multifamily works from beginning to end. How traditional retirement planning sets you up for failure, and how this method can get you to your financial freedom number faster than you ever thought. Embracing the multifamily millionaire mindset. Getting rid of bad ways of thinking. Converting to successful ways of thinking. Fast action or homework sheet. Here's your homework. Module 1 action plans. Committing to making a change. Schedule time to spend in the Cash Flow Builders Academy. Schedule time to follow the to-do actions. Read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Reverse engineer your personal freedom number. Remember, a goal is worthless without a target date. Complete a vision board. Join our Facebook group. Use the searchy function to get ahead. Congratulations. After completing the action plan, you have completed our first module and the first step to getting closer to creating more cash flow and freedom in your life. In the next module, we will cover getting ready to buy, 13 financing strategies, 7 financing myths revealed and busted, borrower's preparation checklist package, and the 5 significant tax-saving opportunities multifamily provides. We look forward to building freedom and cash flow together. Let's get started with Module 2.